This is PediaCast.
Welcome to PediaCast, a pediatric podcast for parents. And now, direct from the campus of Nationwide Children's, here is your host, Dr. Mike.
Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to PediaCast. It is a pediatric podcast for moms and dads. This is Dr. Mike coming to you from the campus of Nationwide Children's Hospital. We are in Columbus, Ohio. It's episode 543 for August 29th, 2023. We're calling this one Children's Miracle Network. I want to welcome all of you to the program. So today we are going to explore the many ways in which the Children's Miracle Network supports children's hospitals throughout North America. And you've probably seen the balloons, hanging up at places like Walmart, Costco, Dairy Queen, and many other corporate partners of the network across the country. But who exactly is the Children's Miracle Network? How did it get started? What are the founding principles of this organization? And does donated money stay local, or is it shipped off to other locations? And in what ways does the Children's Miracle Network support care of patients, research, and education of future pediatric professionals at its member hospitals? We will have answers to these questions and many more as we journey through today's episode. And as it turns out, this was a really fun one for me to research because I grew up in an age of a network TV. We didn't have cable or the internet. I know, gasp. It's really actually difficult imagining that world today. But they were simpler times, I guess, and there were far fewer entertainment options. But one piece of entertainment that I always look forward to back in that day was the telethon. I don't know do you remember those? If not, ask the more senior members of your family about them. The telethon, and I sort of feel like I have to explain what it was. It was this long overnight event, like in many cases over 20 hours of programming, and it featured a star-studded lineup of entertainers. There were musicians and comedians, and all the while, viewers could phone in donations. And in the absence of all the entertainment options we have today, you can imagine these were pretty special events that happened once a year. And I think the granddaddy of all the telethons had to have been the Jerry Lewis Labor Day telethon to benefit muscular dystrophy. But there were other national telethons as well. Easter Seals had an annual one. And in 1983, the Children's Miracle Network began its annual national marathon to benefit children's hospitals across North America. So, and we'll talk more about how that all got started because the history of it is pretty interesting. So anyway, researching this episode was a bit of a walk down memory lane for me. And it turns out, even though telethons aren't the big draw they once were, the Children's Miracle Network has found all sorts of opportunities for raising money and continuing their important work of supporting medical care for children. We have a terrific guest this week as we dig deeper into this organization, Nikki McCool. She is Assistant Director of the Children's Miracle Network at Nationwide Children's Hospital. Before we get to her, let's cover our usual quick reminders. Don't forget, you can find us wherever podcasts are found. We're in the Apple and Google podcast apps, iHeartRadio, Spotify, SoundCloud, Amazon Music, and most other podcast apps for iOS and Android. Please consider leaving a review wherever you listen to podcasts so that others who come along looking for evidence-based child health and parenting information will know what to expect. We're also on social media and love connecting with you there. You'll find us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and LinkedIn. Simply search for PediaCast. There's also a handy contact link at the website, pediacast.org, if you would like to suggest a future topic for the program. And finally, I want to remind you the information presented in all of our episodes of PediaCast is for general educational purposes only. We do not diagnose medical conditions or formulate treatment plans for specific individuals. Also, your use of this audio program is subject to the PediaCast Terms of Use Agreement, which you can find at pediacast.org. So let's take a quick break. We'll get Nikki McCool settled into the studio, and then we will be back to explore the Children's Miracle Network. It's coming up right after this. Nikki McCool is Assistant Director for the Children's Miracle Network at Nationwide Children's Hospital. She joins us today to raise awareness of the important work this organization is doing to support children's hospitals across North America, as these institutions provide care for sick and injured children, conduct research, and provide training to the next generation of pediatric healthcare professionals. Before we get to these details, let's give a warm PediaCast welcome to our guest, Nikki McCool. Thank you so much for visiting us today.
Thanks so much, Dr. Mike, for having me. It's great to be here.
Really do appreciate you stopping by. And actually, you used to work in our division of emergency medicine before you moved on to bigger things. And so it's great seeing you again.
Thank you.
Yes.
Great seeing you.
And I think a great place to start would just be sort of a definition of when we say the Children's Miracle Network. There's going to be folks out there who are quite familiar with it, those who maybe have heard of it but aren't quite sure what it is, and then those who've maybe never even heard of it. So just for everybody's sake, so we're all starting at the same place. What exactly is the Children's Miracle Network?
Absolutely. Well, some of you may have seen the balloons or be familiar with the Children's Miracle Network balloons that you see in some of the local businesses around. So basically, the Children's Miracle Network is made up of 170 children's hospitals across the U.S. and Canada. CMN was founded in 1983 with a goal of helping sick and injured kids in local communities. Donations support the health of more than 10 million kids each year through local children's hospitals. So CMN hospital funds are usually unrestricted, and they're directed to local member hospitals so that they can be used where they are needed the most. And Children's Miracle Network hospitals have raised more than $7 billion between 158 hospitals.
Yeah, that is really amazing. So since 1983, $7 billion with a B dollars that's been raised for children's hospitals. And I think the really sort of unique thing with it is that local donations stay local, right?
Absolutely, yes. So when you go into, your local Costco or your Dairy Queen, your Panda Express, wherever that may be, and you make a donation, and whether that is a roundup donation, a dollar donation, those funds actually go to the local children's hospital, and that is how the Children's Miracle Network how that organization sort of works and how the local member hospitals work actually as part of that structure, part of that organization.
Yeah. So when you see those balloons, those the paper balloons that say Children's Miracle Network, and you can round up a donation or really give any donation, but even $1, I mean, those dollars really add up when we're talking about millions of people potentially donating there at the point of sale at local retail places. And then that money gets funneled into the local children's hospital.
Correct. They add up so quickly. Yes.
So how did this get started in 1983?
Right. So it really began as a telethon in 1983. Mick Shannon and Joe Lake, 2 out of 4 of the founders, they were kind of sitting and, thinking, how can we, make something here? They were so passionate about raising funds for kids. And as they were thinking about who can we get involved in this, that, who's well known, what celebrities could, really bring this to something. So they thought up John Schneider, who is a Dukes of Hazzard celebrity. Who didn't love this? Kids loved him. So they thought, let's give him a call. And Marie Osmond, who at the time was 19. And so they got those two on board and thought those two would be the greatest hosts for this telethon. So then the Osmonds actually were also friends, and they at the time were incredible television studio, and they were able to get them on board and start this big telethon. So the four of them agreed together that they wanted to keep funds local and unrestricted. And so those were kind of the founding principles. And then they were able to get some of these bigger Delta Airlines and Marriott, these partners too, and Disney to get involved and really get this to take off quickly.
When I was a kid, we didn't, you've heard these stories. We didn't have the internet. Really, we didn't even have cable TV when I was like in middle school.
Right.
And telethons were so much fun. I mean, because you got to see celebrities, you got to stay up late. I didn't have a bedtime when there was a telethon on. And so folks remember the Labor Day, Jerry Lewis Labor Day telethon for muscular dystrophy, and the Easter Seals telethon, and the Children's Miracle Network telethon kind of rounded out those three. And it was an event. I mean, I feel like the country kind of came together around these telethons because there weren't other entertainment options, right?
People got so excited and totally engaged in this.
Yes.
And that first telethon raised $4.8 million for 22 hospitals.
Wow.
That's huge.
In 1983. That's really impressive. Now, how do hospitals become affiliated with this? So we say Children's Miracle Network. So that would suggest that there's a network of hospitals. And it's not just any hospital, right? You have to become a member.
You have to want to join this network, right? You choose, and you choose to pay a lot of money. It's a significant sum of money to be a part of this network. Nationwide Children's is part of this network amongst, other. So there's 170 hospitals that are part of this network across the nation and Canada. And you have access to resources, to tools, to all of these partners and programs.
So the member hospitals have access to programming, as you mentioned, and we'll talk more about what that programming looks like, more into the nitty-gritty of it in just a few minutes. But I wanted to focus on the money first and the donations. Those, can come through the Children's Miracle Network website or at the point of sale as folks are rounding up or spending $1 on one of those paper balloons that get hung up there near the cash registers. Or it could be through a fundraiser, and we'll talk more about fundraising campaigns that folks can do locally. As those donations flow into the hospital, the individual member hospitals do have some responsibilities in terms of how they spend that money. You say it's unrestricted, but there are still some guide rails in place, correct?
Yes, that's correct. We have 6 key areas of funding within the network, and all of the funds that are raised, if they're unrestricted, considered unrestricted. Let me kind of explain what that is so that for those that are unfamiliar with that term, it's sort of undesignated, unrestricted, which means they go to the need that is the greatest at that time. And basically those key areas would fall into either charitable care to patients, improving health-saving equipment, education for patients, families, and the community, enhancement services that support innovative programs and projects, research and treatment for how we care for children, and patient services for patients and families and their overall well-being.
Yeah. So it's the funds that end up being donated and then stay locally are unrestricted as long as they fit under one of those buckets. But each individual children's hospital can decide what their kind of priority list is and where they need those funds to go the most. So there's flexibility, and yet there's also accountability because, you don't necessarily want to use those funds to shovel snow.
That is absolutely correct, Dr. Mike. Yes.
Yeah. So that's really cool, and I would imagine that Nationwide Children's Hospital has a pretty strong relationship with Children's Miracle Network. I mean, we have staff at the hospital that really are sort of liaisons between the Children's Miracle Network and our hospital, like what you do. So this is something that's really developed into quite the system, so to speak.
Correct. Yes.
And that's the way that it is at hospitals, the member hospitals all across the country.
Yes, very true. We have here, and it varies from hospital from each organization, really, depending on the size of the organization. Here, we have like five staff that are designated for CMN, at our hospital and our foundation, but each hospital is different.
Yeah.
So.
Now, one of the things that that I think is really interesting with this whole setup is, of course, there's individual donors in communities that money goes to the Children's Hospital, but you also have corporate partners as well that act regionally, because any money that gets donated, let's say at your local Costco or Dairy Queen, goes to your local children's hospital. But these are national corporations. And so how do those corporate partners kind of get on board and get connected with the network?
They are. What makes it so awesome is that these national corporate partners, the funds remain local. I love that when you go and donate at your Costco, your Dairy Queen, your credit unions for kids, your Great Clips, Panda Express, all these, Marriott, all of these corporate partners, because of them being a partner with us and with all of their local member hospital, those funds always stay local. So they are always connected and funneled to that local area hospital, which makes it a local national partner.
Yeah.
So they do always go to the member hospital, of course. So
yeah, and so they basically just see which member hospital would be closest to their area for that particular retail location, and then that's where the money is going to end up going.
Correct. Yes, they have they are assigned certain staff within their area, and they're called program directors within our network. And they, everyone at within that organization, they receive, or the employees, the associates within their business, they receive a list of who that person or who those people are, and then they can connect with them, and they do. And so it's nice they have that support. They are familiar with us. We work with them directly. We do store visits with their locations. So we're out in the field. We're supporting them in their stores. So it's great because we have that relationship established with them. We are supporting whatever it is that they need. A lot of times it's marketing, different marketing needs. It's maybe we take a patient champion out to visit them to help engage with their employees, to help them make sure that their cause connected, so that they're excited about what they're doing and they feel connected to us.
Yeah, absolutely. As I look at the website for Children's Miracle Network, and of course we'll put a link to the website so folks can check it out over at PediaCast.org. But there really are, I think at last count, like 97 corporate partners nationwide. And just a few, these are all names that we've all heard: Dairy Queen, Costco, Walmart, Panda Express, Ace Hardware, 7-Eleven, Speedway, Remax, Coca-Cola, Marriott, as you mentioned. So lots of big names. What about at the local level? Like if a business wanted to be a corporate partner, but maybe they don't have a national reach, maybe it is, 3 or 4 mom and pop restaurants in town. Is that something that a local business could become a partner?
They can still become a local partner, yes. It is a little bit more complicated, I believe, but it is still possible, yes.
Yeah. So if there are businesses out there that maybe are not current corporate partners and you would be interested in learning more information, I'm sure there's contact information through the website at Children's Miracle Network.
Yes, and our market directors are very helpful with that. You can reach out to any of our market directors to find out more information.
And then how do you find out if your local children's hospital is a member hospital?
So there are actually two ways to find out. One is through the website. There is, if you go to the Children's Miracle Network Hospitals.org, you can find out that way, which is probably the easiest way. Also, if you've ever seen the yellow balloon or the CMN logo, you can usually walk into your local member hospital or a local hospital and see if you see the balloon hanging anywhere. Sometimes that's a good indicator whether they're a member or not.
You had mentioned a patient champion. What exactly is a patient champion?
Oh, patient champions are great. They are basically ambassadors for our organization. They it's a person that a child who has either is still receiving or at some point has received care, and they feel blessed with the type of care they received, and they want to share, about that type of care and feel, like they want to get involved and just kind of be an ambassador on behalf of the organization. So, in no way are we having them go out and just, sit there and, they're not on display. It's to get them involved and really kind of champion our efforts and to get to be involved and engaged in whatever's going on in an opportunity. So a lot of times they're participating in an event and they love to, whatever is going on, if it's if they, there's popcorn to pass out or there's some sort of, something that things to pass out or be involved in, they love to go on tours or, do whatever, but they like to be part of the events and get engaged with the employees.
Having a chronic illness is difficult. And there's a lot of challenges, both personally at the family level. There's mental health challenges that go along with the underlying disease. So you may have diabetes, but that may also lead to anxiety and depression and other mental health stuff. And these kids go through a lot. And so I think, as you said, it's not to put them on display. I think it's really to recognize their courage and their tenacity and, to give a little back and to say, you are going through all of this, your family's going through all of this. And of course, you appreciate the care that you're getting. And so there's really that, being an ambassador for your local children's hospital so you can help other families understand what kind of services are available and, what the hospital's done for you and how you've excelled because of the support that you've received. Really a fantastic program. And again, those are the patient champions. So I know we've talked about the unrestricted nature of the donations, meaning that children's hospitals can determine where the needs are the greatest. But at the same time, there are some instances where specific programs get put into place at the local level, and then money gets earmarked to support those programs. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct, Dr. Mike. We do have 3 specific programs that we sort of designate the CMN funds each year, and I'll kind of go over what those are.
And this is for Nationwide Children's Hospital, because each hospital could determine what their special programs are going to be.
Yes, exactly. Yes. So specific to Nationwide Children's, all 14 primary care centers receive $20,000 per year for the programmatic advancement. This would include book bag drives, winter coat drives, hygiene care kits, toys for well visits, bike helmets, etc. So that's one of the areas. Then we also have the search program that receives $25,000 to sponsor 3 students each year. These funds support their stipend, housing, and various activities throughout the program. And then also our inclusion and culture team, they receive funding for their various DEI efforts. Recently, CMN funds supported the MLK Week activations. So they created roughly 500 care packages for 5 different underserved schools in the area.
One other thing I wanted to talk about with the Children's Miracle Network is there's the corporate partners. There are the individual donations, like at the point of sale, but folks can actually create fundraisers. Is that right?
They can. They can create their peer-to-peer, different types of fundraising. Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And at the website for Children's Miracle Network, there's much more information about that process and how you can do it. But just as an example, there are colleges across the country that might have a dance-a-thon. And,
Yes.
They have their students and faculty and staff dancing and raising money, kind of like a walk-a-thon, but it's a dance-a-thon. But you can create that and then even kind of earmark, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong about this, but like you're doing this, maybe you want the money to go to cancer research at your local children's hospital. So you can kind of pick a little bit where that money, so then it's not quite unrestricted in that case.
Correct. Yes. You can actually, there are student-led dance marathons. They're year-round philanthropic movements. It's fantastic. And you don't even have to be a dancer at all. You don't have to dance at all.
Yeah, you
but
can just
the
watch.
focus is completely on fundraising for local children's hospitals. They can be started by anyone. You can create your own fundraising page. It's fantastic. There's more information on our website about it.
Yeah.
But and high schoolers can do this. College students can do this. As long as you're of high school or college age, it can really be any student led. But it's fantastic, and these kids are raising tons of money. It is actually our dance marathons bring in between $1 and $2 million a year.
Yeah, that is
for
incredible.
us. It is. It's fantastic. So,
and at our local level, as I recall, those are kind of earmarked toward the kids with cancer.
Correct. Generally, yes.
Yeah.
Generally.
But again, that's up to anyone who would come up with a fundraising idea. And it's not only fundraising, it's also fun raising.
It is. It is. It's very fun.
I was chomping at the bit to get that out. All right. Well, we really thank you so much for stopping by today and talking about the Children's Miracle Network and the wonderful things that you guys are doing. There are going to be a lot of links in the show notes for you, of course, to the Children's Miracle Network, how to find your local hospital, more information about the history of the Children's Miracle Network. As I was looking at that before this show, it was really interesting how they did end up getting Marie Osmond on board and John Schneider. Really interesting because those folks who started it were actually, I believe, working with the March of Dimes and wanted to start a marathon or a telethon for the March of Dimes, and they didn't want to do it quite the exact same way. And so then they broke off and made their own philanthropic organization. And it's really quite fascinating. And so if you want to learn more about that whole story, it's really spelled out nicely over at the website, the Children's Miracle Network website. And I'll put a link to that. Also, a list of your corporate partners, ways that you can donate, how to start a fundraiser, all of those things we'll put in the show notes so folks can find them very, very easily.
That's great. Also, some more about our programs even. We have our Radiothon program. We have Play Yellow, Extra Life, some of those as well. So if anyone's interested in hearing about those or reading more about those, we have some more information on our website about those as well, or I'm happy to talk more about those.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go through some of those individual programs. Are those ones that are just here at Nationwide Children's Hospital, or are those nationwide?
So actually, they are nationwide programs. So we have a Radiothon program that really we invite. It's pretty much designed to invite corporate partners to come on air, thank them publicly. That's what it was designed for. It's really a stewardship opportunity. It used to be a 2-day event that has kind of evolved for us in particular at NCH more into a one-day event. But really, it varies across the country. Everyone sort of does that differently. So Radiothon is done differently everywhere.
Yeah.
But
and that's just on local radio where you are maybe a patient champion might get an interview and folks can donate money, and it's just part of the local radio landscape.
Correct. There's many different ways to do it, and they have sometimes local champions. They have, but it's really designed to thank corporate partners primarily. It's really that stewardship opportunity to really it's a support. And so it's doing that on air and then asking for money in doing so. So there's that. Then also Play Yellow, which you may or may have not heard of Play Yellow. It really means you're supporting kids in your local children's hospital. It's led by Jack and Barbara Nicholas, the PGA Tour and CMN hospitals. And Play Yellow for Children's Hospitals strives to bring golf world together to help basically 10 million kids each year. So you may have heard of Play Yellow's Birdie Bash, where club professionals from the Southern Ohio PGA compete in a 2-person scramble to raise money by making as many birdies as possible. And so that's what the Birdie Bash is. And then also we have Extra Life, which is gaming to raise funds. So that one is amazing. They have large conventions. The ones here in town are held at the convention center. They are. It is so fun to see the gamers. There's so many gamers there. They dress up. They do in-person competitions. They have gift baskets that are auctioned off. It's become huge. They raise approximately $14 million nationally.
Wow.
So it's just gaming and doing what they love.
Yeah,
but they are super passionate about raising money for kids.
Yeah.
So it's pretty
absolutely
amazing.
So big, huge question.
Sure.
And one that's probably on a lot of people's minds, and that is, children's hospitals. Why is this a need to raise money? So you're asking folks for donation. Isn't the cost of care enough? So in other words, someone goes and they maybe have a surgery, the insurance company gets billed, the patient and family has a copay, and that money goes to the children's hospital. But that's not enough, is it?
No. Unfortunately, there are so many procedures that are not covered. There are so many people that don't have insurance. But really, in so many cases, Dr. Mike, there's just many procedures that are not covered. There's so many instances where this specific procedure that this child needs is just not covered, but it's a needed procedure. Or for a better outcome, they need something that is just not, it's way too expensive. It's just not. And so for a better outcome, a better life, a better quality of everything, they need to have care that they wouldn't be able to have without these funds.
Yeah, it's really so important because when you think about running a children's hospital, I mean, you have to pay for the electricity and the water and all of the support staff. And unfortunately, just the way that our medical industry works today, you have negotiated prices. The insurance companies want to be able to pay the least amount. And there's a discrepancy in terms of the ins and the outs. And it's really donations like this that fill that gap so that we can continue to care for all kids, regardless of their ability to pay, that we can conduct research to find out what the best ways to treat those kids are, and that we can train new generations of pediatric healthcare professionals to take care of kids long into the future. And all of that costs money. and really more money than you can bill out. And so it's so important to support your local children's hospital. And even if you don't have kids, you are supporting your community when you give those dollars at the point of sale with all the corporate partners. You really are, especially since those funds stay local, supporting your local community and all the kids that live within your community, even if they're not your kids.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, our goal, is for, our funds to help as many kids as possible. And, we don't have the need for corporate sponsors necessarily. We sort of touched on this a little bit before in the fact that we have corporate partners. We do not have corporate sponsors. We sometimes have opportunities for sponsorships within different events. But I wanted to just mention that sometimes the nice thing about our relationships with our partners is that they allow for us, because of our really great relationship with them, that we are able to have in-kind donations between ourselves. So, for example, Dairy Queen will sometimes offer an in-kind donation so that when we're having an event with another partner, they might bring in, dilly bars or something like that, so that we don't necessarily have to rely on an actual sponsor for an event.
Yeah.
So that is really helpful in our fundraising opportunities with our partners.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, if you're interested in becoming a corporate partner, you can find out more information about that at the Children's Miracle Network website. All right. Well, Nikki McCool, once again, thank you so much for stopping by and chatting about the Children's Miracle Network with us. She is the Assistant Director of the Children's Miracle Network for Nationwide Children's Hospital. And once again, thank you so much for stopping by today.
Thanks, Dr. Mike. I appreciate you having me.
We are back with just enough time to say thanks once again to all of you for taking time out of your day and making PediaCast a part of it. Really do appreciate that. Also, thank you to our guest this week, Nikki McCool, Assistant Director of the Children's Miracle Network at Nationwide Children's Hospital. Don't forget, you can find us wherever podcasts are found. We're in the Apple and Google podcast apps, iHeartRadio, Spotify, SoundCloud, Amazon Music, and most other podcast apps for iOS and Android. Our landing site is PediaCast.org. You'll find our entire archive of past programs there, along with show notes for each of the episodes, our terms of use agreement, and that handy contact page if you would like to suggest a future topic for the program. Reviews are helpful wherever you get your podcasts. We always appreciate when you share your thoughts about the show. And we love connecting with you on social media. You'll find us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and LinkedIn. Simply search for PediaCast. Also, don't forget about our sibling podcast, PediaCast CME. Similar to this program, but we do turn the science up a couple notches and offer free continuing medical education for those who listen. And it's Category 1 CME or CE, and it's not only for physicians, but also nurse practitioners, physician assistants, nurses, pharmacists, psychologists, social workers, and dentists. And since Nationwide Children's is jointly accredited by all of those professional organizations, it is likely we offer the exact credits you need to fulfill your state's continuing medical education requirements. Of course, you want to be sure the content of the episode matches your scope of practice. Shows and details are available at the landing site for that program, PediaCastCME.org. You can also listen wherever podcasts are found. Simply search for PediaCast CME. Thanks again for stopping by, and until next time, this is Dr. Mike saying stay safe, stay healthy, and stay involved with your kids. So long, everybody.
This program is a production of Nationwide Children's. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time on PediaCast.